Welcome to part 4, and just before we go, no, I'm not going to accentuate the 4 and before. In fact, why did I say that? I could have just left it out. In fact, why am I still talking? Anyways, just before we go to start this, have you actually looked at any Mega Man game on your own since, well, actually, a better way to phrase that question is, when was the last time you did?
It's been an extremely long time, and the most recent Mega Man game I probably looked up on my own is Mega Maker, and that was like when it came out. So,
Man, that just reminds me of how much I really I was like hyped for it for a bit until I realized that I would have just preferred actually seeing people play the stages rather than just putting stuff out there and like, yeah, now you can play that. Like, the creativity to me doesn't mean anything if I don't actually see people doing anything with it.
yeah, well, I mean, I guess
And that is why when I had your Mario Maker thing for so long, I made well, technically 2 stages, and that was it.
I mean, people will play them, and you can get you can pretty consistently get feedback for your stages on the Mario Maker Reddit. But I'm assuming hearing people say why they like the stage is different from seeing someone play it.
Yeah.
You could also, there are streamers, and especially small streamers who they get like say 30 views, and they will play your level. Just watch them play to say, hey, I have a level that's in the queue, and they will play it. So it's not like it's impossible to see someone playing your level, but yeah.
Well, even outright with just how I still don't, because I have a Twitch account. I just barely use it. Like, I don't even, the only interactions I've ever done to other people on streams or whatever was that one time with Some Call Me Johnny, and that other time with Hellfire Comms. Literally nothing else.
I will occasionally, well, it depends on if I have the device for it and if my internet's not acting up, but I will watch streams, and there are some of them where they will pretty much interact with you because it's not like 2,000 people watching, it's like 100 people watching and like say 20 people commenting, and so it's not impossible to get them to read and just engage with what you have to say. But it's not like it's guaranteed or entitled, but it's just like, yeah, it will happen. And I don't even remember, I do remember that the only reason I made a Twitch was Mario Maker. Just watching Mario Maker. But I've kind of branched off to other things, but I'm still main. Because I realize, oddly enough, I'm not interested. Even games I love, Terraria, I'm not interested in seeing watching people play Terraria. Like, I try, for some reason, unless it's like a person who I know, a streamer I know, and I'm just engaged with them on that level, I'm really uninterested in watching someone play pretty much any game that's not Mario Maker. I don't know why.
Well, outside of, because you know how engagement in any way is what I want, and it's like it's fine if I can just like get that on any sort of semi-regular pace. I just wonder, like, when I go and do it, I have to be actually invested in why I'm here. I'm not just gonna go here just so somebody can talk to me. Though in some weird way, like, there's this guy who I watch, the Duck Goes Moo, who has I think a Discord server is something I still don't quite understand. Like, I understand it, it's just like, maybe I just said I didn't understand it, and then I was like, well, yeah, I understand it, and then I was about to go into, well, I didn't really understand it, so...
The thing is, to make people understand how he doesn't understand it, we use Skype to record these.
I guess that really just tells all in certain cases, huh?
Yeah.
But really, I don't exactly have a way to have a good grasp of how these social things work. But at the same time, it still feels weird enough to me that when I look at that and like, oh, a Discord server where people can just talk about their problems, it just feels weird. And I don't know if that's like one of those what's the general rule? Like, if you're any technology that you discover after 35 generally becomes weird to you. But
I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
But for me, I'm barely disposed to general technology in the first place. I mean, I spent most of my life with a terrible phone. The same terrible phone.
Yeah, I think about it and I was like, I was recommending new phones for you. I said, this isn't something that's in your budget. And I said, this isn't that great. But I realized that it's great for you since you've experienced nothing so far. So,
well, to be fair, my last phone could, for some reason, couldn't load gaming apps properly, and so I had to, just basically have a put a ball in a hole game over and over and over
fun
again.
game, but
Oh, that, but it also became bullcrap hard after a while. Kept convincing myself, oh hey, I maybe I can do it this time since I literally have nothing else to do. I mean, this was before I had the 3DS.
oh yeah, that's rough when you're at a point where the point in our lives, because I experienced it as well, where we didn't really have computers, we didn't have any video game systems, we basically had DSs and like 2 games. Like we had Pokemon and Mario Kart, and those were the only video games we had. And then PC wise, it's just GBA emulation.
Yeah, that because even DS emulation for a while, it really depended on a lot of factors. Just to think about, like, okay, maybe this game will work, maybe this game won't.
Oh yeah, the different Desmome, except it runs like 2 frames per second on our computers for whatever reason, and then no cache GBA.
Which sometimes was the best thing ever and the worst thing ever. I still don't understand it.
Yeah, it was very finicky. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like it's like it knew how to do one thing really well. And if you went to 1% out of that thing, it was worthless. And then there's Desmome, which everyone still says is the best, which seemingly works, but for whatever reason ran at 2 frames per second. And then none of the others existed yet.
Yeah, I still remember just the fact that when I got my small laptop, and was doing, university classes, the fact that I could just have my laptop out, and depending on whether the lesson was something I could easily process or not, I could just have it out, and during a point where they're explaining something that I understood, but somebody else in the class asked a question, or like a topic that I read ahead on, or just, I won't say or just knew better, because that sort of implies something, but like it's like first year psych courses, because of the stuff we looked up before anyways. Sometimes we just knew it, and that was fine. But yeah, the point is that during those little sessions, I played the entirety of the Mega Man Zero series. Just like in my first year.
Yeah, are we talking about high school or...
Dude, I just said university.
Okay.
And was allowed to carry my laptop in there.
Okay, never mind then. I just... Because I was just thinking about the high school experience versus the university. Because the university the university computers were occasionally really good. Some of the computer labs had incredible laptops. Computers, and others had perfectly fine computers.
I think it says a lot that we literally went to the best school in the country, and our library systems were terrible except for upstairs, which we were not allowed unless we were sixth form.
The thing is that I feel, because our library literally the semester we left, the library got a huge upgrade, and I feel like maybe it was just the school library was long overdue for an update. I get that feeling because I'm trying to even remember the computer labs, because really the libraries were just for like research stuff. The computer labs had all the computers, but we were definitely not allowed in there. So we kind of tried to turn the library into a computer place. I mean, I'm sure now schools, because I haven't even been in the new library, but but I've seen through some of the windows, and I'm just like, well, aren't you all lucky? Yes.
We literally had 3 computers, and two of them.
Yeah, those were
sucked.
awful. Yeah, those were actually really bad compared to everywhere else in the school. But I mean, I've replayed so much the first 3 gyms of Pokemon Emerald because I, for whatever reason, just started the game and never finished it.
Whatever reason? Are you kidding me? That's so unlike you.
Yeah, okay, good point. But because I just realized that there's just so much games that I started playing and then just moved on. But there's a lot of things where there was something I wanted to say about my gaming experience at university involving the computers, but it's kind of I don't remember if this was high school, or I think this was high school, where we had so much fun playing Gravity Guy. And I still think, years later, so hundreds of games later, that Gravity Guy multiplayer is some of the most fun I've ever had playing a multiplayer game. That was just incredibly fun.
Which is weird in certain cases, because after a while, it really doesn't get too nuanced with what the map becomes.
Yeah, but you never last that long. Anyways.
Speak for yourself.
The downside is that Gravity Guy?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know why I'm questioning myself. Gravity Guy is no longer in the Play Store.
No wonder humanity is going downhill.
And then I saw a new quote-unquote Gravity Guy, and it looks like this is garbage. I am not the kind of person who would be like, Teen Titans go, Thundercats go, Powerpuff Girls, I don't care. First of all, I don't think Teen Titans Go is bad. And second of all,
it is just surprisingly is good in other episodes, and you're just like, why can't you be consistent?
Well, yeah, but I don't hold any special value to Teen Titans 2003. So if Teen Titans
that's where you're wrong.
If Teen Titans goes to but I'm like, yeah, who cares? But I felt like this is Gravity Guy Go. that was my first thought. It just looks.
Now you understand.
It's heartbreaking, and I don't even know. I don't know. It's just it was changed and then gone. No, it's gone and then changed, and I just checked the Play Store and it seems to be gone again.
Wasn't there a Gravity Guy 2?
Yeah, which that was still on the Play Store, but that seems to be gone now. The thing is, my old phone, maybe a lot of these games have updated past the limits of this phone that I have, the older one. But I'm recording with the new phone, so I really don't want to check right now.
I mean, again, I'm not the... before I had my phone, my old phone that I had for like, I want to say 10 to 15 years? No, well, 10 to 13. Before that, I had the Nokia phone, the unbreakable thing. That was also a phone that I had for way too long. And I just played those 3 games over and over on it.
My earliest phone was a Nokia, but there was a point when the smartphone craze was just blowing up, and I couldn't, because this is how it always worked. And it probably still works right now, but I could never afford the most up-to-date thing. But whenever the really cool thing got cheap enough to become mainstream, I got it like a couple years late. And so I'm kind of there right now because I'm just rocking a mid-ranger, which is a decent mid-ranger. But at the time when Blackberries were finally getting out of style, I got a Blackberry. And I loved that Blackberry so much because I was the kind of person who just really, really liked, what's that thing called? Keyboards. And I valued keyboards on smartphones. And so I was just thinking, how am I going to go to a smart? I really like this keyboard, and I seriously considered getting the BlackBerry smartphone.
Jeez, this thing takes a lot of pellet shots. They really want you to use special weapons for that thing.
Right.
Like I decided, you know what? I'm not even going to play the game of will this thing use the suction attack and suck me into insta-death spikes. I'm just gonna stay here and take damage while constantly shooting it. And if I had like if I had sound on, I would count the amount of shots that took, because that was insane. But yeah, continue.
My moment didn't want to yawn into the mic. Okay, so that was rude. That wasn't intentionally rude. I wasn't saying what you were saying was boring. But that was in the middle of yawning. So, what was I saying? Yeah, Blackberry's keyboards. I was seriously considering getting the Blackberry Blackberry Passport, like those newer Blackberry phones that had the big screen but also the keyboard, because I just really, really like keyboards. I'm over it now. I'm fine with the screen. I'm still not fine with the way Apple has a single button and everything else is gestures. Don't like that. But I'm fine with just a touch screen. But yeah, I spent years. I was going through websites looking for BlackBerry games and apps and stuff, and was finding specific things for BlackBerry to use, and that was such a big part.
I think I borrowed my mom's BlackBerry for a while. And like that was when I still had the Nokia, and it was basically mine for a little bit. It was hers in name only at one of those kinds of situations. But I think either something happened to the screen or something, or like maybe something rotted off. I don't know. I just know something happened to it that wasn't exactly me, say, dropping it in water or whatever. But something happened to make it much harder to use. And that's eventually when she acquiesced and got me a new phone.
And even when the new, because the Android 4.4 phones, when I got those, I went right back into it. I'm just looking for apps and games for that. I'm going on the APK websites, and it's funny. There are a lot of games that I but I remember from that time that I'm just always trying to get back, and it's kind of heartbreaking to just see this can't run on your phone anymore because they never updated it. But even when they do update it, it's like it's changed, and the charm of that tiny 4-inch screen, very simple games, the cut the rope and the parachute panic, which has seemingly completely disappeared. Like, I just cannot find that game. I spent years looking for a roller coaster game, and I couldn't find it, and I went into my mind space and found the website. I was one of the websites I was looking up games on, and managed to find it after like 10 years. And it's just as fun as I remember it, and that's nice that at least one of them managed to still work.
That just reminds me of that song that I had in my head from a movie I know I saw at one point. And I couldn't remember a lot of it, but I remembered like part of the tune, and it kept nagging me for so long until I like, because obviously I tried looking it up before, but I just one day I got so fed up that I just sat there and tried to recall as many lyrics as possible and searched for it as many ways as possible. And eventually somebody apparently actually put it on YouTube. It turns out it was from a Golden Films movie, which is basically we made a bootleg version of this more popular movie for VHS. That kind of company.
Right.
But surprisingly, the songs were good. Everything else was bog standard. Like, especially if like the most egregious thing is how movies of that nature always has to have talking animal companions, and if they're not already in part of the story, a love interest. Because even as a kid, during that whole Noah one, there is just a princess that Japheth falls in love with. And I'm like, wait, wasn't the entire point that everybody else fell into debauchery? Like, literally everyone else? Why is she suddenly the star gold of everyone on the planet? And also, why does she have a pigeon that's also okay with this?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You've seen someone, because this is one of those things that eventually someone will get to, which is a Titanic sequel. And so you've seen the let's add a love interest, let's add talking animals to the Titanic.
Yeah, and I've seen the let's make it so that the Titanic didn't sink version. Because of a giant octopus. I don't understand why they... Like, if they made that because they thought, you know what? Having the Titanic sink, just with all those tragic deaths, that's gonna be too much for kids. Why make a movie about the Titanic in the first place, then?